everyone, today we will tell you about the elements from the short story. The title is Dead Man's Path, and before we begin, there are three members in this group. The first one is me, Aya, the second one is Nodi, and the last one is Tessa. We will explain the summary, theme, character and characteristic, tell you about the conflict and the irony from the story, and the last we will tell you about the moral value of the story. Alright, let's go start it. Okay, for the summary, Michael Obi was appointed headmaster of the unprogressive Dume Central School in January 1949. Mr. Obi accepted this responsibility with enthusiasm because he wants to prove his ability by making school modern. Mr. Obi and his wife put their whole life into the work. He had two aims. A high standard of teaching was insisted upon, and the school compound was to be turned into a place of beauty. One evening, as Mr. Obi was admiring his work, he was scandalized to see an old woman from the village hover right across the compound. On going up there, Mr. Obi found that faint signs of an almost disused path from the village across the school compound to the bus of the other side. He was outspoken in his condemnation of the narrow views of these older and often less educated ones. Nancy and Obi also deride the older educators who don't share their progressive mindset while preparing to lead the school towards a new modern direction. They view these old educators as unsophisticated and unfit for teacher position. Meanwhile, Nancy daydreams of being the river queen of the school and prepares to lead it by example. Mr. Obi shocked by the villager which used footpath and arguing to close the footpath. Mr. Obi said that you people allow the villagers to make use of this footpath. It is simply incredible. Mr. Obi did ignore the proposal of the village priest to reopen the path. He suggested to priests to construct the path outside of the school premises. The priest had nothing more to say. Then he went home. 2 days later, a young woman in the village died in childbed. A diviner was immediately consulted, and he prescribed heavy sacrifices to propitiate ancestors shielded by the fence. Obi woke up the next morning upon the ruins of his work. The white supervisor came to inspect the school and wrote a nasty report on the state of the premises, but more seriously, about tribal war situation developing between the school and the village, arising in part from the misguided zeal of the new headmaster. His arrogance and lack of sensitivity for the villagers' tradition led to him being dismissed as headmaster.
Theme of the story. The theme of the story is differences in views and cultures of villagers with more advanced village development. What it means? The story tells us about Obi, who was appointed the principal of the Dume School, who had the passion and ambition to make the Dume School a modern, more advanced, and more beautiful school. However, this wish was opposed by the residents and also the priests in the village. Obi's wish couldn't come true because the priests asked not to make the school modern because it violated the customs of their ancestors. Finally, Obi failed to make the school progress and develop. Characters and characteristics. There are 3 characters in the story. such as Michael Obi, Nancy Obi, and Village Priest. Now, I want to tell you about the characteristics of Michael Obi. Michael Obi was the story's protagonist. He was 26 years old man educator in Nigeria, tasked with reforming Dume Central School. He has been educated to be progressive and plans to bring that modernism to the school. He has described as outspoken in his condemnation of narrow views of these older and often less educated ones. Next is Nancy Obi. Nancy Obi was wife of Michael Obi. She has also become completely infected by Michael Obi passions for modern methods. Eager to live in a more modern environment where she will be considered queen of the school and be invited by the other wives. Last is village priest or Ani. Ani was an antagonist of the story. He was very traditional old man who is also a religious leader in that village. He speaks to Obi about keeping the spiritual path open. He warns Michael Obi that he must let the hawk perch and let the eagle perch.
Hi guys, now we move to the conflict. The main conflict involved when Obi refused to open the ancestral pathway, which connect to the universal conflict between modernity thoughts and traditional culture's belief. After Obi closed the path, and an old priest came to him and told to him that the path was a path for the spirits and future children. Obi ignored it, and the next day, a woman died when she gave birth. And the villagers take revenge by tearing down one of the school buildings. And the inspection days arrived, and the inspector gave a bad feedback and blames to Obi for sparking conflict between the villagers and the school.
Central theme of respecting long-held tradition. Irony also provides a style for the author's writing and gives the story a circular movement to the plot and reinforces the theme. The irony of the story is that Mr. Obi is hired as headmaster because of his modern ideas to implement change for this unprogressive school. His arrogance and lack of sensitivity for the villagers' tradition lead to him being dismissed as headmaster. So, in essence, he's fired because of his modern beliefs.
And the last we move to moral value, and that our group gets from this story. First, we have no right to change the existing rules without the agreement of everyone. And the second, higher education is not entitled to be arbitrary. And the last, people must honor and respect the cultures and traditions of others. As newcomers, we should not arbitrarily change other people's habits, let alone deny other people's beliefs. Let us respect the belief of others so that we are also respected.
Okay everyone, that's all from our group. Thank you.